Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Tell me your story. This is your host, Chris Baker. How you doing? And today's guest to share her story is Kwandi McVey. Give it up for Kwandi McVey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. I'm excited. I'm really excited to share, and it's exciting to meet you finally. We get a chance to actually
Finally.
talk, and yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into it, to tell my story, and thank you for allowing me the space to do so.
That's what this platform's all about. You get to come out here and share it. And I'm greatly honored to have you on, and it's a privilege, man.
Thank you.
So, let's just jump right into this, man. Let's start from the very beginning. Where does your roots take place? Where were you born?
Okay, actually, I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. I lived there most of my life. As a young adult, I relocated to Texas, and I lived there for about 15 years. And then in my more mature adult life, I moved to Alabama. So I'm currently in Alabama. So yeah. But definitely a Southern girl, obviously.
Yeah. So you grew up in New Orleans from your childhood? So I know the last guy I just had on, he was actually from New Orleans. We're at New Orleans. Same place?
It's so funny. Yes, because I saw the podcast, and I wrote in the comments, he's from the Ninth Ward, and so am I. So that was so funny. My dad grew up in the lower Ninth Ward, and I grew up in the Ninth Ward. So it's like a canal separates the two. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Anybody watching or listening, that just tells you how small the world actually is.
Absolutely.
So I always like to ask this question for everybody. Was your childhood during the technology era, or was it before the technology? Because some people don't know what it was like back then, and we like to hear.
Definitely before the technology era. It was to be honest with you, let me tell you how funny this is. So I work in banking. So I'm gonna use this example that you'll know how far, I guess, technology was. Well, I was a part of the technology. I worked in banking. There were no debit cards when I worked in banking. ATMs were brand new. I actually had to teach people how to use a debit card, how to use an ATM. I literally had to go outside to the ATM and help them with technology. And I had to convince people that it was okay to use a debit card. So yeah. There we go. I think that's a good example.
I'm still thinking about the time when they actually did come out, and I remember people were we're living in, because I'm from the '90s, and I got the in between treatment. So seeing it go from cash to digital, everybody was kind of like, "What is this?" Everybody was calling for end times. Everybody was calling it the mark of the beast. They're like, "Oh, this is how it starts." Google was finally coming into the picture. People were, instead of going to the libraries, they were going to this device for all the answers, and it was like, "This is how it happens. This is how it's going to end for us." And okay, then you go into the year 2000, where everybody was freaking out, and we all were thinking. Prince made a song about it, 1999.
1999.
Thinking that this was it. This was gonna be it. Everybody was convinced that 2000 we weren't going to be able to see it. But, I'm here to live to tell the tale. So are you.
That's right. That's right. We did stock up on a lot of food. We did all the things that everybody else did, thinking that the world was going to end or we was going to be in this Armageddon or whatever it was. But it was funny. But yeah, we survived and we're here. What's that, 25 years later?
It was rough. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough, guys. But we made it. We made it through.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about that anymore.
I think one other thing
flashbacks.
I'll say is I actually had encyclopedias. Like I had to go to my bookshelf in my room and pull out an encyclopedia to find information. Google was not around when I was younger at all. So yeah, we yeah, I was definitely before technology.
Everybody's probably asking. They were asking, how did you do your research back then without the computer? I mean,
Encyclopedias. And and if you didn't have the updated version you were behind.
yep. And then you had like also too when you I think there was books of life or something called that, where if you wanted like basic knowledge about certain things, like why does my cat have four legs? There was
Wow.
books like that out there. I think they still exist, maybe.
Hopefully not, but I'll tell you this much. With today's technology and the information age that we're in, that you can look up everything. You don't really need a doctor anymore. You literally can go to Dr. Google or Dr. Chat, and I mean, it's right at your fingertips. So I don't know what's going to happen within the next 20 years, but today, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It's getting interesting, man. That's for sure. You can say that.
Hmm.
I mean, because before you even go to, like, if you go to see a doctor and you Google your symptoms, they basically, it's like when you go to the doctor, they're basically saying the same thing. And you look at your doctor or whoever, if you're in the ER or whatever you're doing, they basically say the same thing to you, and then you start to get the ideas like, so did they Google it? Did they chat GPT it? Are they actually, are they doing stuff? I mean, I'm about to pay $600 for being here that I could have just did this at my own house. I could have self-treated it.
I'm
Sorry.
telling you, it's getting to that point.
I just started thinking these things.
Yeah, yeah, lots of people are.
So we started getting a taste of what your schooling was like before Google or anything. Were you the cool kid? Were you the quiet kid? Were you the in between? What was going on?
I was probably in between, and the reason why I'd say that is because in my early childhood is where I started learning how to be quiet, because that's when I started feeling unseen. That's when I started feeling like it was better for me to not be vocal, because I didn't feel like I was visible, if that makes sense. So yeah, I was not always considered the cool kid, but I was lots of time considered the wise kid. Because I wasn't as vocal, I observed a lot. And because I've observed a lot, I formed lots of opinions and wisdom and things that I could do to help other people. Um, so what I do today is definitely a calling. I didn't know it then, obviously, as a little kid, that it would lead to this. But yeah, I was always to tell you the truth. I'll tell you this. My nickname by my mother is Graham. Graham is short for grandmother. That's how wise I was as a kid. And she's always called me that. So, and my dad used to call me Granny. That was how wise I was as a kid. So there we go. So
I mean,
yeah,
I've
no.
heard I've heard that I've heard that many times when people have actually called me an old soul because just the way I say things and how the way I view it and how I
Hmm.
go about my business. You know,
Yes. Yes.
I haven't been called grandpa or anything like that, but
You got
I know
time. You
everybody's
got time for
different.
that.
I'm starting to get some gray hairs, but I'm not quite there yet.
Nope, you have time.
So when did you know for sure, like, this was a calling? When did it impact you, like, for sure? That did you always have that feeling about it, or?
Well, honestly, I'll tell you, when I was searching for what to do in college, what my major was going to be. Originally, my major was going to be psychology. And during that time, while I was in college, I started working at the bank. I liked what I was doing. The bank was paying a lot of money. And I was like, well, I'm already making a lot of money. I don't know. I'm already doing well. So there was a point that I changed my major to education. I missed that part. So originally it was psychology. Then I changed it to secondary education because I just wanted to help people. I've always been in a service kind of, want to help people. So when I started working at the bank, I realized I started getting promoted and I realized I'm making more than a teacher does. Why would I stop working to go student teaching? At that time, when you did your student teaching, you had to do it full time and you weren't paid. So by this point, I already had a family. So why would I stop to go and, make no money actually to get a career that will make less money? So I stayed in banking for 25 years. Um, but in banking, I was also a teacher. I was also a leader. And so I worked through, that was my calling. And so it just met me in my career. And so fast forward after my career in banking, I was searching for a purpose. Like I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? And that all ended anyway. They decided they wanted to do something different in terms of my role. So they collapsed my role and anyway, and I was excited because I was like, I get to go do something else, so I was ready to go after 25 years. Um, and that's when I decided, you know what? I want to open a coffee shop. Chris, I promise you, I didn't even drink coffee. The reason I wanted to open a coffee shop was because it brought community. I love the aspect of people getting together and um, the community coming together and a place to gather. And it was less about coffee for me and more about ministry. And so I did that. I opened a coffee shop. I opened two actually, two different locations. It was beautiful. The community was amazing. It was in a small town in Texas, but I had the wrong partner. So that is a whole nother episode. You let me know when you start talking about relationships gone wrong. I won't use the N word because everybody uses the N word. Do you want to know what that word is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Narcissism. So, it's a word now that's being thrown around. Everybody's using it. There are people that actually were affected. I was one of them by a narcissist. And so when the money ran out, so did he. And so anyway, you have a little bell, ding, ding, ding. That was that was rejection at its finest because the money ran out, the business ended. I didn't know what was next for me, had no clue. I think that is when I really went on my journey to find myself. Like there's a reason I ended up with this person. The reason wasn't revealed until I went on my journey. I just looked at the movie for the first time, Eat, Pray, Love. Never looked at it before, never even was interested. But oh my gosh, when I saw it, I was like, she is telling my story. Like, this is amazing. Her journey. So I don't know if you've ever seen it. Hopefully some of your guests have. But yeah, that was me. I literally went on this journey of finding like, who am I? But I will tell you, I did not. Today, I am a rejection recovery specialist, identity restoration specialist. It is because when the Lord set me down, when I started asking questions, I'll put it that I started asking questions like, who am I? Who did you create me to be? Not who I decided I wanted to be. Who did you create me to be? Like I needed deeper. I went to my mom and dad. My mom used to always ask me, who are you, Kwandi? Tell me who Kwandi is. And so we went, and I was young when she would do that. And I never knew, like, what do you mean? You're asking, like, I'm a child. I don't know who I am at this point. Well, as an adult, I didn't know who I was for a long time. And so it wasn't until I actually sat down and started to confront some of the things that I had been through. I realized I pushed it all down. Like I literally, and I was successful in the business world. I was a leader. I did lots of things. I spoke on large stages. I facilitated workshops for a Fortune 100 bank, one of the top banks in the country, literally in the world, really. Um, yeah, I was on big stages. I traveled a lot. I did all these things. I had a successful career. I was a mother. I was a wife. I had 3 beautiful kids. And it looked like I was setting the world on fire. It really did. Like, if you looked at me from the outside, you'd have been like, man, she got it going on. I had confidence. But guess what? Inside, what people couldn't see was the self sabotaging, the self I wouldn't say self-loathing, that'll go too far, but I didn't always like myself, and I didn't understand why. I always thought that something was wrong. I always thought that I wasn't enough. I never fully felt seen. I could have been in big rooms and just did a beautiful presentation, whatever, and get all the accolades in the world. And in my head, I'm saying, that was horrible. You could have done better. Oh, they're just telling you that. But every time I had to show up with confidence, but nobody knew how I felt on the inside. And that bothered me because I kind of felt like I was double-minded, basically. I'm doing all these things. Sometimes I didn't think I deserved it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't deserve the accolades because I didn't think I did well. Oh, they just being nice, but were they really? Um, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I will tell you, I got to that point because of things that happened in my childhood that I pushed down, that I did not fully, not just that I didn't address, I literally didn't think about it. And I didn't think that those experiences were shaping who I was shaping what I call today a false identity. And the reason I say that is because I never showed up for who I was. I showed up for who I was performing to be, if that makes sense. I had the stages, I had the people, and so yeah, I showed up. Most people call it a mask. I didn't know I was wearing a mask. I was going about my day to day, being who I was supposed to be for everybody who I showed up to be for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so
But
I got
I
to,
like to I want to add in on here real
yeah,
quick is
yeah,
really right now this is a very important thing to talk about for the watcher and viewer is check up on your friends that they do think that, like I said, got it going on themselves. Feel like they have it all in place. Everything's rocking and rolling for them. I think this is the best advice for you right now is to check up on other people. Make sure that people are good because, like you said, on the outside, everybody's seeing this beautiful picture of you. You had it all together, but deep down,
yeah,
you felt the complete opposite.
yeah. That's great advice. The strongest person in the room is the one that the people don't check on. The strongest looking person, I'll put it like that. And what you don't realize is what they could be dealing with behind the scenes. That's what happened to me. People didn't realize what I was dealing with behind the scenes. I didn't even know. I didn't understand why I felt like I went through bouts of depression, and there was no reason for me to be depressed. Like there was no reason. Um, so I want to if I can just jump into do you I want to talk a little bit about my childhood because it'll help you understand why I even am doing what I'm doing today and why today I'm more convicted about my purpose than ever before. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I was called to do. And if it took me going through this journey to get to this point, I'm all for it. You know why? Because I know that God was with me at every step, every turn, because I'm still here. I'm still talking. I'm still able to help someone. My testimony is live, is living, is breathing. That's what I'm excited about. And I'm so glad that He allowed me to see me. And when He did that, He was like, let me introduce you to the person who I created not the one who you thought you needed to be. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. So I'm gonna go back to my childhood. Um, I was a very happy kid. I loved to write. I was I would have notepads at probably 6, 7, I don't know. And I would just write stories. I love to write stories. I always thought I was going to be a writer, author, or something. I had a vivid imagination. Um I loved my family. I loved connection. All of that. I was bright. I was a beautiful kid, I believe, because I remember that person and I know what I've been told, right? Well, I also remember going to school because I asked the Lord on this journey because I never had the words for it. Like I didn't walk around saying, "Oh, I'm rejected. I feel rejected. I'm being." Those were never the words until the Lord started to show me what it was. So in my childhood, I was short, always short. I'm 4'11" now. Probably was way shorter than the average kid in my class when I was younger. And
Listen,
I was
I'm right there with you.
see, so we in the same club. All right. So you understand the
Same
short
boat.
kid sometimes the short
Yeah.
kid sometimes gets you can get bullied a little bit. You don't get picked to be on all of the teams and all of the games in school and stuff like that. Well, I have a when I asked the Lord to show me the entry point, show me where this started, he said when you were 5. And I kid you not, 5. And I was like, 5? What happened at 5? He brought me back to a scene. So when I was 5, there was a movie that came out called King Kong. True story, true movie. It was the old 1970s King Kong. And it was a big deal, a big event for everybody. And so the costumes came out for Halloween and it was, guess what? King Kong costumes, like gorilla costumes. And I had this big, massive thing of hair when I was little. And so the other kids that had the same costume I had, they had to get wigs with their costume. I didn't have to wear a wig. My mom just blew out my hair and it was just huge. Well, short with a big, big blown out afro and a gorilla costume is not the cutest thing, I guess, because I got bullied for having my hair that way. Yep. I had the same costume that other kids wore. And for some reason, my costume wasn't accepted. And I was like, wow, I remember, like, I literally can remember. And I thought I was remembering because I saw pictures. No, I was remembering because it came back, like he brought it back. And I was like, okay, all right, that was the entry point. And then I remembered I started having these vivid memories of things happening after that or in the time frame. And one of those memories was I remember going home, and at the time it was McDonald's had these little bank watches. You can put coins in the bank watches. And I remember going home one weekend, and my dad was a photographer, so we had the little canisters that kept the film in. We kept them for whatever reason. And I went home that weekend, and I literally started collecting change. Everywhere I could find change, I was putting it in my banks. I was putting it in those little canisters. I had them in my pocket, and so that Monday morning, when it was time to go to school, we were about to walk out the door, and my little bank on my arm, because it was like a watch, it hit the couch. When it did, the coin popped out, which made my mom notice, what you doing with all this money? And so I got canisters in my pockets. Where are you going? What are you doing with all this change, Kwandi? My response was, I'm going to buy me some friends.
Oh.
Yeah, and so when I realized in this journey, I was like, God, there was always a time, even as a little girl, that I wanted to be accepted. And I never felt like I belonged because I was going to buy friends. So that's where God brought me. And I'm going to fast forward. Can I talk about? So I want to talk about inappropriate behaviors of adults with children in my able to talk about that. I know on some platforms you can't say certain things, and I don't want I don't want to get us kicked off or whatever.
Nope.
But okay, so
It's completely
fast forward.
unscripted on here.
Okay, great. All right, because I'm gonna say some stuff. Fast forward from that little girl wanting to buy friends, um, crying. Literally, I have pictures of my eyes as saucers, like swollen because the party was over. Because I love people. I always love people. My birthday party, it was over. I'm crying. Whatever. It's a big deal. Um, so I'm gonna fast forward to about 7 or 8. I had an aunt who didn't have kids. She couldn't have kids. She had a lot of health problems, and she was divorced from a domestic violence situation that she was in. And she finally found her high school sweetheart that she reconnected with, and they got married. I'm going somewhere with this story. There's a reason I'm saying that. They got married. He was her knight in shining armor. He was the person that she loved, and her life was going to be so much better. And I mean, she was amazing. This was the aunt that I spent a lot of time with as a child because she didn't have kids. And so I was always wanting to go over on weekends. She was the fun aunt. I mean, we did everything together. Like, she taught me how to sew, how to crochet, we did fun stuff. And then her new husband came. And her new husband was fun. He loved animals. He had gerbils and hamsters, and I mean, he was fun until he wasn't. Until he decided that he needed to have I'll just say it. He molested me. And I didn't realize the molestation. It's so interesting how I framed it as an adult. My aunt had cancer. She had one breast. She had to have a mastectomy of one breast. And that's the place that he decided was his place on me. And this went on for years because he was my fun uncle. He would get me away from everyone else. We could be in a house full of people and find secluded places and isolate me from the other kids. And I was special, and he did all the things. I had the candy. I had the drawer I can go to and get all the candy I wanted, like all of it. He did all the things. And I didn't know, excuse me, Mom. You cannot you can't do that.
Dang ghosts.
I'm so glad we're
These
unscripted.
dang ghosts.
Probably
They always are getting in the way.
But yeah, no, I just got excited. I probably hit the stand. But he yeah, so he was the fun uncle. And my cousins didn't understand why I was so special. I didn't either at the time. And thinking back, I remember his side of the family, his nieces and nephews, biological nieces and nephews, never spent time at my aunt's house. There were never any sleepovers with them. We went to family gatherings, but I never remember his biological nieces and nephews spending the same amount of time that I spent. I enjoy going by my aunt's house. And then as I continued getting older and it was still happening, I remember a specific incident when I was at my aunt's house with some other cousins. We were all together, and my uncle pulled me out of the family room into the kitchen, away from everybody else again. And one of my cousins came in. He was like, "What are you doing with Kwandi? Why do you keep taking her out of the room?" Like, I'm sure he felt something, sensed something. And my uncle got really upset with him. And then, we all got treats, and he tried to blow it over. And then I remember he would have these drives. "Oh, I got to go to the store. Kwandi, you want to come?" And at first I was, yeah, I want to go. But then the rides to the store became stop-offs to secluded places so that he could molest me. And it was so bad. I remember I had a dream one time The dream was so vivid. The dream was about, I was in this house and it was about a ghost. I was in my aunt's house, and the ghost was a ghost that looked like he was from the Puritan age. Like what he had on was really, from a different era. But the person I described was my uncle, and nobody caught it. And what I described was that he would come into my room and he would stand over my bed. And I described the things that was really happening, but as a dream, because it was a dream to me. But I described him, he had red hair. The person in my dream had red hair. He was probably 6'2", really tall, really big guy. Nobody realized she's describing her uncle. Okay. So as I continued down life's highway as a child, I started to feel uncomfortable going by my aunt, but I loved her so much. Um, I had my own room at the house, and he would literally come into my room at night. And so I concocted this story about, I don't even know, something was going on in the room. And so I had to sleep in the room with them, but I would sleep on her side of the bed on the floor. That was my way of protecting myself. And then one day I remember this is how it all came to, okay, this is what's happening to me. I was watching Different Strokes, and it was a PSA. It was a show about Arnold and his friend possibly getting molested by the neighbor or one of the dad's friends. And it showed all the things. It showed the candy. It showed the inappropriate pictures he was trying to show them. I think Arnold left and the boy stayed, the friend stayed. And when I watched it, I'm watching it with a friend of mine, and tears started rolling down my face. And my friend asked me what was wrong. And I said, that's what happened to me. And she was like, we gotta tell somebody. And so we told her grandmother, because we were at her house. When we told her grandmother, she sat down, and she was a social worker, by the way, so that was even helpful because she knew all the things to talk about and ask. She brought me to my house to tell my mom, and my mom didn't believe me at first. She didn't believe me at first because a few weeks before that, she asked me, had he ever done anything? And I denied. I said no. Why? It's my favorite aunt, my favorite uncle. I didn't know it. I didn't have words for it. I didn't have a language. I didn't understand what she was asking. But when I saw it, when I actually saw it played out on TV, I was like, that's exactly what happened to me. Okay, so anyway, mom goes over to my aunt's house, confronts my aunt who has a heart problem, heart condition. They're checking her pulse when they're telling her. Her pulse never changed. You know, when you get news like something that's surprising or exciting or something that you have a heart condition, they were really concerned that she would possibly have a heart attack because she loved me so much. But her pulse never changed, which indicated to my mother and my other aunt, she must have known. There was no excitement, there was no reaction. And I remember I was 13, by the way, at this point. But up until this point, I stopped sleeping at the house. Like I would visit, but I wouldn't stay, things like that. I started to protect myself. Anyway, I remember calling the house because I knew my mom was there. She answered the phone and she asked me, why did you say those things? Why did you? Like she literally was denying. I've never left you alone with him. I've always been. So that was the beginning of the abandonment for me. My aunt, who loved me so much, who I loved, literally turned her back on me. She literally abandoned me. She chose him. And that started my, not just people pleasing, but my, I guess, quest for making sure. I just wanted to make sure no one else left me, so I would do things like stayed in a marriage for too long. That's a whole nother, like, I need to come back because we have a lot to talk about. This is therapy for me, and I'm a therapist. But
Just let it all out. Let it all.
but she literally said I was lying. My mom then took me to the police station, and we did the things. They asked me all the questions. I was able to tell him where all of his nudie magazines were. I knew where everything that a little girl should not have known at all. And when the detectives went to their house, my aunt told them she'd never left me alone with him. And then this thing came up with the statute of limitation, or the time frame. I don't understand how people today are going to prison for things that happened 20, 30 years ago, when in my case, it was a few years from the time that I actually said something, from the last act. And so it wasn't pursued. Um, but anyway, so it split the family up. My mom stopped talking to my aunt. Again, that was rejection for me, because this was a fun place. I loved her. Why couldn't she? I even tried to convince her that everything's gonna be okay. Even my mom, I can go back over, like, everything's all right. I'm okay. I forgave him. Well, we split the family up. But from that point, Chris, to be honest with you, it was almost like every relationship after that, there was something that happened. And so I'm not going to go into I had to detail that one a little bit more to give you the context. There's a fly flying around my head. I'm so sorry if you can see it, but if you can edit it out, that'd be great. Just kidding. Shoo him away. I had other incidents like that with other family members. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 12. I don't have daddy issues. I love my dad. He's no longer here, but he was amazing. My dad was amazing. You know, sometimes when there's a divorce, people sometimes develop daddy issues. I don't have any abandonment issues from my mom and dad getting divorced, because my dad was always there, always involved in everything. That wasn't it. But now I have an issue with other men moving in. And I'm now developed as a young lady. And so I had an issue where a boyfriend of my mom, live-in boyfriend of my mom, decided he would do the same thing. And when he did, I can remember my grandmother calling, or I called her, and I was hysterical. And it's so funny because I was in junior high school when this happened. So I was in, like, maybe the 8th or 9th grade when this happened. And I was sitting there doing my nails, because now I'm all into doing my nails. And he walks into the kitchen, and he's talking. And as he's talking, he literally puts his hand in my shirt and starts to fondle me. And the stuff that I'm using, the acrylic, whatever, is everywhere. And I mean, I'm throwing things at him. And I think I called my grandmother. I'm screaming, "Come get me." Meanwhile, I guess she calls my mom. My mom tells her she doesn't believe that he would do that. And so my grandmother comes, she picks me up. I have 3 beautiful little brothers. Well, I'm the oldest of 4 children. Love my brothers. I'm 10 years older than I have twin brothers that's 10 years younger than me, and I have a brother right under me that's 4 years. But anyway, I loved them. They were like my world, my heart. So now I had to leave to live with my grandmother, because I lied about my, not even stepdad, because they weren't married, touching me. And it was hard. So now I'm rejected again. I'm abandoned again. I have to live in a place away from my family, my brothers who I love so much, and live with my grandmother. And that was 9th grade, because I remember I was a majorette and I was going to try out, but all of that trauma, I ended up not trying out. And so anyway, it was a lot. So here we go. Here's another one. Okay, this fly, I'm so sorry. I thought I got him away. Anyway, um, I as I continued life, it happened again. So now what you think? What in the world is wrong with me that people keep like what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me that I'm the one that they want to touch? Or it happened with my cousin, my a cousin. He's 5 years older than I am, I think. And I missed the part because that might have happened before the stepdad, but it's all anyway. Yeah, told my aunt. Guess what? She said he didn't do it. He didn't do it. So what does that do to a child who constantly is being first not heard, unheard? I mean, they didn't even hear what I was going through. Ask me if I've ever had any. Okay, Chris, I don't have to get this fly. I mean, really, he's bothering me.
You gotta wait his turn.
It's like a little imp. I don't even have. I could anyway. This is gonna.
You should have told me you were gonna have a guest appearance on the podcast.
Can you open your door and get one too? That way we.
Get out of here.
That is fun. Has that ever happened? That is so funny. Okay.
Unscripted, people. Unscripted.
Okay. Well, the fly didn't know he wasn't invited. But yeah, so I'm going through this whole. It's a pattern now. It's a pattern. It keeps happening. I'm rejected by aunt or two aunts, a mother, in a sense. She was there, but she wasn't when it came to. I never got any type of therapy because you just get over it. Like you literally just get over it. That's what people think. That is probably one of the most misconceptions of walking through or any type of rejection is that you just get over it. Life happens. Move on. I did. I moved on. As I moved on as a young adult, I moved on and out. And so what I mean by that, I met my first husband, and at this time I am devoted to God. I am sold out. I am like that was where my place was. And I met my then husband. And when I met my then husband, we went on a first date. The first date, he showed me that there was no integrity. The first date. The handwriting was big on the wall. But because I was looking for, at this point, love, validation, acceptance, all of those things, the handwriting was on the wall, but I erased it because I wanted to be seen and loved. And that's the one thing. So the integrity issue, and this is so funny because I think about it now. Go ahead.
I just want to ask. So, you're going into this relationship, and I'm pretty sure other people are thinking the same thing. So, with all this trauma that you were dealing with up to this point, was it harder for you to be in this relationship? Was it like, were your walls completely up here? Were you just like, you're not about it? You couldn't trust him? What was going on?
I did have trust issues. But this is what I really want people to hear. I chose a marriage that was not for me because I chose it from an identity that was not mine. When I met my husband, the very first date, we went to rallies. I didn't want anything. And I'm saying this for a reason because integrity was the key. And the integrity issues was throughout the marriage. But I saw it the first day. He gave the person money, the cashier. She gave him too much change back. She gave him more change actually than he actually gave her. It made no sense. I saw him counting it and I said, she gave you too much money. He said, yeah, she sure did. And he's like happy. And I said, you're not going to give it back? I said, she might lose her job. Oh, well, she made a mistake. And I was like, okay. But guess what? He provided a place where I could leave the place that I was, because my home at this point was not healthy for me. And he provided a safe place. His parents didn't mind if I was over there all the time. And so it provided a place that gave me refuge from what I was dealing with. And then his family accepted me, and as far as allowing me to be there, and we did family things, but there was always a problem. Yes, there was a lot of trust issues. My then husband became a cop. That's all he ever wanted to do. Literally, all he ever wanted to do. And so then we had to deal with all of that. The being a police officer, and being a policeman's wife, and not fully being accepted again. But I did have 3 beautiful children, and the marriage eventually ended after 20. Who gets married and the marriage ends after 20 years? At that time, it was unheard of. Now, lots of people, from what I hear. So, so as I continue, that marriage ended, and I literally ran into the next one. I'm talking ran in full on, because this one, yeah, I ran straight into it head first with track shoes on. This was my narcissistic relationship that I didn't know, because the love bombing is so real in the beginning. It is amazing how they pour on so much love for you and attention and all the things, and it's not real. And so I went through that. And that's the person I opened the coffee shop with. The marriage lasted maybe, I want to say 9 months, because when the coffee shop ended and when we really had to live, because narcissists live in fantasy. They don't want the real world. They want the fictitious world. They want it to always be good. It's always sunny. It's never raining. And we were in ministry together, so there you have it. There are altruistic narcissists who pretend to be God-fearing. Okay, I'm gonna leave that right there, but that's what happened. After that, and that was the relationship. The ending of that relationship is when I was like, okay, I'm done. I gotta figure out, what is this? What was it about me that allowed a narcissistic person in? I didn't have any walls up, because he did all the things that most women are looking for. Which is why most women get heartbroken. And I mean, there's women that's narcissists too. I'm not saying it's just men. In my case, it was a man. But yeah, it happened. And when it happened to me, I didn't even know the word. I never heard the word. And this is only maybe 10 years, 7 years ago? Maybe, no, longer than that, about 10 years ago. Never even heard the word. I was talking to one of my customers at the coffee shop, because this was around the time the coffee shop was closing, and I was explaining what was happening. He was like, Kwandi, I think the person is a narcissist. And I said, what is that? Never heard the word. Now it's a household name. Everybody knows the word. And he started telling me what it was. And then I'm searching. When you start searching Google for information about things you've gone through, and Google was spitting it out. Yep, if you went through this, you went through the love bombing stage. I went through all the stages. I did all the things. I started watching all the videos on YouTube about narcissism. I could be a narcissist expert, like most people are, once they go through it, because all you do is binge watch that stuff. Like, you really, and that's what got me through that. But then, like I said, I realized.
Wait, 1 minute. 1 minute.
You want me to slow down?
No, I just want you to explain it for, somebody that could possibly be going through that right now that
Mhm.
doesn't understand that term. What is that? What is a narcissist? And what are the signs to look for in your relationship when you're with a narcissist?
So one of the things, so a narcissist is a person who I really call it like it's a false person, it's a fictitious person, and they come to you. Normally, most times, a narcissist will come to you at a most either vulnerable point in your life because your boundaries are down, your guard is down, and they enter because they're very charismatic. And I'm not saying that everybody that's charismatic is a narcissist. I'm just giving you the signs of. I'll tell you about mine, the one I dealt with. Very charismatic, charismatic. Everybody loves them. No one has anything bad to say about them, about the person who actually lives with them, because it's like two people, literally. It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And so the person that's the public person, everybody loves them. I mean, lots of friends. In the narcissistic world, they call them flying monkeys because they never know how bad the person is. But behind closed doors, the person is a monster. In my case, the monster behind closed doors in public was a preacher. In public was this God-fearing man. In public would pray for people and all these things, but behind closed doors would use language that he shouldn't have, very abusive. I'm talking emotionally abusive, physically abusive. Um, the people that he prayed for, he actually talked about behind closed doors. It was horrible, and I couldn't reconcile with the two people. Like, why are you like two different people, literally? And they don't want to be exposed. So I started praying. It's the funniest thing that I would be praying, and I would get these downloads, and the downloads were about him, and I would tell him, but I didn't because I didn't know I was talking to him. Like it was him. And then I started having these dreams, vivid dreams. But anyway, narcissists don't like boundaries. They don't like when they cannot have their way. They're very selfish people. At first, they love bomb you and it's all about you. And once they have you, it's no longer about you, it's all about them. Oh, I mean, in my case, it was all the way down to what I wanted to eat. I had to eat the same thing. They become enmeshed with you, meaning you no longer see the line of who you are versus who they are. You literally, it's almost like you get into them because you're no longer a person to them. They don't see you as a person, they see you as an object. You are their object. I can remember the narcissist that I was with. I couldn't comb my hair a certain way. I had to get my hair cut a certain way. And I thought that was just love. Oh my gosh, he loves my hair. He wants me to look like this. Yeah, no. Right. Mm-mm. Nope. It was the control. It was the control. It was the because you're an object, you don't have a say so. You don't have desires. You don't have like, yeah. If you find yourself in a relationship where you don't have opinions, you don't, if, so, if somebody wants your opinion and they give it to you, you have to regurgitate it back. That is not a healthy relationship. The person I was with was a cheater because they're not loyal. They're not, because you're an object, you're expendable. They leave whenever they want. I was discarded, literally discarded after everything. Now I look back and say, God, thank you. I did not realize when they say, right? When they say um rejection is only God's redirection, that is true. That is so true. So but yeah, there's so much that I could say about narcissistic relationships. I went through what's called narcissistic abuse. That's just what it was. And it is everything. It was financial, it was spiritual, it was emotional, it was mental, it was physical, it was all of it. I literally lost myself when he left or when it ended. I didn't know who I was again. Like, who are you? Because everything was wrapped up in this person. everything. And he left me at a place because what they do is they make you depend on them. They make you depend on them. They make you look at them as the source of your supply when you are the supply for them. But but literally. And so when they if you've ever been if anyone has ever been discarded by a narcissist, they do it in a way that leaves you, for lack of a better word, for dead, because they take everything. When they say steal, kill, and destroy, the enemy does, that is the definition of what a narcissist would do. Steal, kill if you would let them, because they kill a lot of things, and destroy. And in my case, it was my life. I'll never forget. I had a dream because this person was so good charismatically with, and he was good with like marketing, and people just love. Anyway, I had this dream that this person was walking down the street carrying this big bag. It was a big red bag, like a Santa Claus, like huge. It was inflated like a hot air balloon. That's how big the bag was. I'm saying this for a reason. And mind you, let me just say this point. Don't judge me, but I was number 6 wife. So that's another sign. Number 6. Didn't know it at the time, but I was number 6. And there was a number 7 and a number 8. Just saying, didn't stop. Anyway, there was this big bag, like a helium balloon. That's how big it was. And a person was carrying the bag effortlessly down the street. And when he put the bag down, all these people's dreams and ambitions, and I could see him just going up. And I asked someone, right, to interpret the dream. And I thought it was like this person was so helpful. He's like, no, the bag represented the person stealing from people. The bag was all the things that he had stolen. And that's what the Lord showed me. That was my dream. And I was like, oh my gosh. So very in tune. Anyway, I got out of that with my life. I'm still here to talk and testify. And for a little while, I did help people who had gone through the same thing. Like even now, I have people that call me to talk through things that, obviously, I am not a psychiatrist. I'm a therapist, but not a, so I don't diagnose. I can't diagnose a narcissist. And most narcissists are not diagnosed because they go and ask, what's wrong with me? Because nothing is wrong with them in their mind. There's nothing wrong with them. Most narcissists are diagnosed by the person that they victimized. Because the person that's the victim goes to look for answers. And that's how you typically will know if someone was with a narcissist. So
I would
yeah.
say up to that point, you were pretty much you were groomed. You were molested by your uncle, molested by your stepdad, and then once you got involved with that guy, I mean, it was pretty much set in stone.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know who you were as a person yet because you had been with all these false identities.
Yep.
And then being married to that guy, marriage is all about becoming one and being a part of, you're in the ministry in church. That was the big thing for you. You probably saw that more as a woman to be more connected, to come together as one. So whatever he said, you're like, okay, whatever, because he's supposed to be the head of the house. That's how it works, people. And that's what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't like, she was doing this purposely. It's just, how she was taught, how she was groomed.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons I talk about false identities. Because people don't realize they live with them. I didn't realize it. I told you I had a successful life. I didn't know those weren't the words that I would have described. I've been rejected. I know I've been betrayed. I've been abandoned. All of those things. But the people pleasing for me, like I was a people pleaser, overthinker. I always cared about how someone perceived whatever I did or said. And it was draining, exhausting. I would leave a conversation and replay it over and over to make sure that I did not cause any harm to someone. I did not. And so even if I didn't, and there was a slight chance that I felt I did, I am trying to fix it. I used to always say, what is wrong? I don't hold grudges. And that's, I don't know if that's dangerous or not, but I don't hold grudges, meaning I can forgive. I do forgive. I don't hold people um hostage because I hold myself hostage. So
I'm the
what
same way. I'm in the same exact way. I mean, you can burn me, hurt me, do whatever. But the thing is that I don't know, maybe it's how I was brought up or what, but I feel the same way because I've never, I don't know, maybe I just follow the Bible too closely because I'm quick to forgive. But
is
I
that
don't.
not what we're told to do? And here's the thing. Do you think about it? Like with me, when I forget, I don't make a grand announcement. Hey, I forgive you because if it happens, we have a conversation. Yeah, but I don't sit around holding the thought of what you did to me. And that's why I said when all of this happened with my childhood, the Lord had to bring those things back to me. I had another opportunity. I did reconcile as an adult with my aunt, my first aunt and my uncle. I did. It was through the death of my mom's brother, who I was really close to. In the reconciliation, I spent time with her again as an adult. So I had boundaries all the way up. Even was around him again. But here's the thing that took me so long to understand and to realize when my aunt was on her literal deathbed. I mean, she's in the hospital with cancer again, and she's literally got maybe a few days. I think she may have died within a week of this conversation. But we all gathered at my family. We all gathered at the hospital, all around her bed, and everybody was telling her they loved her and all of these things. So I went up to her and I hugged her and I loved and I hugged her and I kissed her. I told her how much I loved her. And what she said to me was, she didn't even say I love you. She didn't say I love you back. She said, love the name of the husband who molested me. That's what she said. And I was like, after all of these years, you're telling me to love him. You didn't even acknowledge that I told you I love you. And when I walked away, I felt so bad. I felt like she never got it. It wasn't until I was praying about it, I don't even know how long later, and I was calling out to God and I was praying about it. I was like, what? And the Lord said, she said to love him because she couldn't say forgive him. That's really what that meant. She said, love him because loving him holds, now it releases you. Because she didn't know at this point, she didn't know if I was still, we never had a conversation. So she didn't know if it was still bothering me, what it did to me. She didn't know any of that. Those were the last words I heard from her. Love him. And she used his name. And like I said, it took a while for me to really understand what she meant when I did. I just cried out to God because that told me her saying love him means she actually admitted without saying it that there must have been something that happened.
I
So
love when God does that to you, where He kind of reveals stuff to you, and you're like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah,
But
and
I want to add, I
yeah,
want to touch on this a little bit. So after you left stop hanging out with your uncle, did he
mhm.
ever try to reach out to you? Did he ever try to hang out with you afterwards, or was
Wait,
it just
which person?
your uncle that was married to your aunt?
Um, no, but we did get we did get back in close proximity. I'll put it like that because at this point before she passed, we were, but we never had a conversation. He never asked me anything. I never brought it up. Um, it was interesting because my uncle who passed, his daughter was looking for a family. Long story, she found us, and she wanted to know him because she remembered him being a part of the family, and we all got together with her in him, and there was like I didn't feel anything. There was no anger. There was nothing. And I thank God for that, because that's why I said God had to reveal to me those times, because I wasn't walking around as a victim. And that's the part that I really want people to understand. Like, I wasn't walking around with my head down. Oh my gosh, woe is me. I was molested. I was this, I was that. I never did that. I was just moving in a way that I had walls built up that I didn't know were up. I didn't have boundaries, healthy boundaries that I should have had, because I pretty much was a people pleaser. I wanted to make sure people were happy. I didn't want anybody to leave. So I stayed in a 20-year marriage, too long, literally. First date, 20 years, 3 kids. So I'm just saying, I didn't want anybody to leave. Um, sorry, I got excited again.
It was the fly. It was the fly.
He ran into the tablet. Yeah, I got into a narcissistic relationship that the signs, like the love bombing and when the devaluing happened, because there's evaluation. Like, they don't just, they love bomb you, they devalue you. And then there's a discard and a final discard. Well, when the devaluing was happening, I was fighting. What is going on? I'm praying. I'm like, why? What am I doing wrong? Why you treat me like this? Because I was on a pedestal. The pedestal got kicked from under me, and I had no idea of what he was, so I didn't know. But yeah, I was on this pedestal that was constantly being chopped down. But I'm fighting to get back to the top of the pedestal. Little did I know, somebody else was probably standing at the top of that pedestal at that point. Because they are avid cheaters. So, yeah. My uncle never came back. The narcissist never came back. My first husband and I have a good relationship. We have 3 kids. Yeah. Yeah. Give me another question, because this is good.
I was thinking too, like your stepdad. Was that also in there? Did he ever like? I mean, you said the one time. Was that a one-time deal, or was there more to that?
It was a one-time thing, but this is what happened with him. So when I moved out and I lived with my grandmother for a while, I missed my brother so much, and he was mean to them. And I was kind of like the big sister protector, the big sister bear. So I called my mom after probably about a month of living with my grandmother to have a conversation. When we went to talk, this is the first time, by the way, that we're talking after everything happened, because she literally packed up all my clothes and brought them to my grandmother's house. So I was put out. I didn't just leave to just give some space separation. I was put out. Anyway, she brought the clothes to my grandmother's house, and we never talked. And so my longing for my brothers is the reason why I sucked it up, called to have a conversation with her. I remember us going to City Park. We sat up. I could see it like it's just sitting on a bench. And she said, the reason I can't believe you, now I'm a teenager at this point. The reason I can't believe you is because sometimes you lie. I might have lied about, nope, I didn't drink the Coke that was in the refrigerator, or nope, whatever. What kids would lie about? Kid stuff. I didn't lie about somebody touching me. And that showed me that relationship was more important than what happened to me. But my love for my brothers was more important to me than myself at that point. And so I I chose to go back home because I love my brothers. And so I put up this boundary, these walls at the house. There were some other things that happened in my childhood at my house, my mom's house. which is why I ran into my husband and left. That was one thing. There were other things. It wasn't one man, it was several. And I was still a growing teenage child, teenage daughter, developing even more and more. And I became a little rebellious. And I found myself wanting to run away a lot. Like she would,
I mean, who
if
won
she,
it?
yeah, if she had to, okay, her reprimands were not reprimands. If she had to discipline me, I would leave. I would run away. And it got to a point that she would lock the doors, lock all the doors if she had to discipline me because she knew I was going out. Um, I did. I would run away. I just did not understand the pain, at the time. But I forgave every time. Like I love my mother so much. Like so much. I don't think about holding her responsible for the things that I went through. I just don't. And people that know my story that's close to me, I've actually had a friend tell me, there is no way I would have a relationship with my mom right now at all. I was like, but that's not God. That's not the God kind of love. Like I understand when God says to forgive, he's not saying stop thinking about it. Don't worry about it. He's telling you to throw it into the same sea of forgetfulness that he has. Like when you forgive, it's gone. I don't hold her. Every time something happens, I go back and replay what happened when I was younger. I don't. I don't and I'm the same way with my kids. I'm the same way with people I love. Like it takes a lot for me to decide that this is not worth fighting for. And it is I don't do that often because I fight for people. I fight for relationships. I don't give up on people. Um I used to think it was because of a fault, like something was wrong with me. Like I remember so let me say this. I am married again. That's why I'm in Alabama because I met my now husband. We've been married for 6 years now. It is amazing.
Wait, 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 wait. Before we get to there, I want
Yes.
to kind of touch on this a little bit.
Yes.
So what's your mom? Did you guys
Yes.
did you guys ever have like a sit down like conversation later in life? Because a lot of stories I've heard before where the aunt, kind of dismissed the situation. They dealt with the situation themselves when they were young, and now it's being a generational thing. It's being passed around again. Did you guys ever have a sit down talk about this? Did she ever openly admit that she had something happen to her when she was younger? Or
She's never openly admitted that something happened to her. Like we have had a conversation. We have had conversations. Um, but she also never, well, let me she kind of with the boyfriend admitted he was horrible. Um, because he abused her, domestic violence. I mean, it's just so she finally admitted he was a bad person. There were my mom and I had to have a conversation. We had a conversation recently, within the last month or so, that I started bringing some stuff up because I'm working on accepted, and as God started revealing things to me, rather than push it down, I acknowledged it and I gave light to it. And in one of the conversations, we talked about my cousin. That was one. That's where it started. Because what my mom did when my cousin molested me, she brought us both, and I'm 5 years younger than him. She brought us both into, my mom's a nurse. She brought us both into this room and she had this whiteboard and she started drawing and gave us sexual education classes. Like, I don't need that. He touched me. Anyway, when I told her that recently, she wept. She started crying. Kwandi, I didn't remember. I said, you never came to me and asked me how I was. I had to say that to her because we now have a beautiful relationship. And I probably would not have brought that up had I not been working on accepted. Because I believe that God, even though, like I said, I'm not walking around feeling like, oh my gosh, this happened to me. I'm not a victim. But He allowed me to shed light in places that exposed. And I believe that exposing was so that as I'm working through this, the heart behind accepted is a lot of empathy already. But I walk in the shoes because I walk in the shoes, if that makes sense. Like, and God told me everything you've been through, I'm going to use it. There's going to be times when you're going to talk about things that you probably have never talked about because it's for someone. And when people used to tell me, Chris, you go through these things for someone. I'm like, I didn't go through all this stuff for somebody else. God said, yes, you did. Because you're the mouthpiece that'll talk about it. When God gave me accepted, it was for me first. It was not. I wasn't looking to start a business. I wasn't look. He walked me through. When I first started accepted, I started it as accepted framework. It was a framework. As I have been walking through this wonderful journey with the Lord, He said it's not a framework. It's a pathway. You're walking people through healing. That's a difference. This is not about behavior modification. This is not about helping somebody overcome a one-time event that just happened. They just got it rejected and couldn't get over it. And I think that's what people think. This is about, in my case, a lifetime of patterns and experiences and events that started to shape how I saw myself. Not what nobody looked at me and said, "Oh, you look like you're rejected." Nobody ever did that. It's what I said. You know what the most profound thing that I've gotten as I've been working through accepted, and I'm gonna share this because I hope it helps someone. The voice of rejection. I was sitting there thinking about what does rejection sound like? I know what the symptoms are. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. Nobody likes me. Nobody ever invites me. All the things, all the negative self-talk is self-talk. But what does it sound like?
Fly is at it again. Yeah, that fly is something else. The Jay Leno fly
I
is
think, okay,
the Jay Leno fly is crazy.
for me, I went through a lifetime of this because I didn't know what it was. I didn't have a name for it. And the voice that I heard was always my voice. It was my voice. So it sounded real. It sounded like the truth. I didn't realize I was talking to myself and lying to myself. The lies that I heard that rejection told me, I was believing because it was me. It sounded like me. And that is the part that I feel most people don't recognize the voice because it sounds like them. I am so glad that when you saw my profile or you saw my bio, when you sent me that message, it resonated with you. You literally named it. Like, I was like, he sees it. Because when you talk about rejection recovery, what is that? It's not even a term that people use. It's different, but that's what God gave me. And I was asking, why recovery? Recovery is a process. It's not a one-time thing. There's most of them is 8 steps to this. It's a process. It was a lifetime of events and experiences that happened to me. It wasn't a one-time deal. So do you think it's going to take And trust me, I have done all the things. I have gone to deliverance ministry. I have faith. And people will tell you, you must not believe in God. You must not believe Jesus if you don't get delivered and you're not healed immediately. Do you know in the Bible, Jesus healed people different ways? Everybody didn't get healed instantaneously. In my case, rejection didn't just happen. It wasn't an instantaneous thing. It was a lifetime of stuff. It was over time. And so God had to unravel stuff for me. Some stuff he had to bring back to my remembrance for me to even acknowledge it. Because he wanted me to be free from it. Because I didn't know it was keeping me bound. And I believe that there's so many people that don't recognize it. They don't know. When I first started this, people didn't understand it. I was like, God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Because nobody knows what it is. Nobody sees it. No. And he's like, no, it's not that nobody knows what it is or sees it. They're not ready to be vulnerable and acknowledge it. You cannot hide what you've been through and expect to be healed. You got to bring, and if you confessing it to once another, you confess it to God, you confess it to, you've got to acknowledge it. You cannot hold it in and suppress it and expect to be healed. You can also not hold it in and suppress it and expect to be free. Because you know what? Living under the spirit of rejection is captivity. It's living in bondage. He came to set the captive free. And I believe, and God has shown me, there's so many people. Here's the thing. Accepted was born because God, in identity restoration. Why identity restoration? He said, before, Jeremiah 1:5, before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. I called you. I chose you. He said, before you were born in the womb. That hit me like a ton of bricks. That means before anything happened to me, God already knew who I was. And all of this stuff started shaping who I am today. This gotta go. And then he brought me to, the example was a chair, an old chair that you see on the side of a road that you pick up and you want to restore it. You don't restore it by just adding more things to it. Most people will strip it down, take all of the bad stuff off, bring it back to its original design. And then they start making it over, putting the things on it and polishing it up. That's what God did for me, stripped it all away. I'm not restoring you to a version of you that for today. I'm restoring you to the original. You are the Kwandi that I originally intended you to be, not the one that you survived to be. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for letting me share. I pray that it absolutely helps someone. I pray that if someone is listening and I'm to this podcast today, a replay, that there's something that I've said that resonates. And if they're dealing with some of the symptoms that I named, because rejection, like I said, you don't walk around just knowing you're rejected. There's symptoms, experiences that you just can't get free or break free from. I pray that even the words, the examples, the story that I've told, that it helps someone, or even point them into a direction of freedom and healing. Because God can't heal what you hide, what you want to. He knows it all anyway. Bring it to him anyway. He said, bring it all to him. He said, cast your cares on him because he cares for you. He does. And you might hide it from the people outside, but you're not hiding it from him because he knows your heart. You can edit this part out, I hope, but I have a standing arrangement to pick up my granddaughter from school at 12, and it's right at 11:30. But I would
Totally unscripted.
absolutely, I would love, love, love to come back. I just feel like there's so much. We haven't even got to any of it. But well, the story was the first part. This is part one.
Part one, everybody. Part
Part
one.
one. Is there anything before we go that I didn't get out that you through the story that you've heard that you want me to say or you feel like your listeners might want to know?
Well, my listeners and watchers, they're going to have to wait till part two. But other than that, as we begin to wrap this thing up, I simply want to simply say thank you for coming on. Thank you for the fly that came on and was interrupting us from time to time. Taking my volumes, knocking your camera over. Crazy.
Totally unscripted. Totally.
There's no lines being drawn here. No questions over here. But what I usually do with everybody else is I usually pass the microphone over to you. And this time, I'm going to allow you to ask me 3 questions as we wrap it up.
Okay. I guess my first question, Chris, is what inspired you to start the Tell Me Your Story podcast?
Question. What inspired me to do this is I simply I got around, I traveled. And I was coming across a lot of people, when I'd be out on trips, just going places, and I'd meet strangers. And, just to pass the time, I'd have a conversation with them, talk to them, because usually I'd be on, like a train or a plane for an hour or two. So you get to know people, and within that time period, I get to know their whole life story. Because I'm not going to see these guys again, but who knows, I might come across them again. But the thing is, I would be receiving all their wisdom and their knowledge, and they're hearing their whole story of what they've gone through. And then once I started, I started asking God, what should I do with all this information? Because I'm sharing it with other people that, the stories I've heard. And then that's when the idea came to me, and I'd say it's from God. He said, use this to create a platform for others to come on and share their story. That way, the people that are listening to this, they receive it. And if they're going through similar situations, it helps them along the line.
Yeah.
And that's the whole goal of the podcast. And then also, to get kind of deep with everybody else, I also love to see this for your future generations to come. That they want to know about you. That they can, if it's not Google, something else, they can look you up someday and find you and say, hey, that's her. Like Ancestry, they can go on there and click this video and learn a little bit more about who you were as a person. That's the ultimate goal too. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. What would you say to someone who feels like their story isn't important enough to share?
We all have a story, regardless of what's going on in your life. You might think that you have nothing going on. You might think that I that's like saying that your test is not your testimony. Your mess is not your message. But really, everybody has a story, and your story is something that you've gone through. It might not be that great to you, but when you speak it out and you tell somebody about it, it could actually help them, whatever they're going through. Because this thing called life, everybody's living something. Somebody's going through something. You're not just living life and just walking through it on autopilot. No, you're living a life, man. You were given this life for a reason. You have purpose. Remember that.
And our story is the path to the purpose in most cases. It really is. No, that's awesome. As you're talking to guests, do you see, as you're talking to your guests, do you see common themes, common threads? I know that you said God, and I know you did because I know you did it for me, inspired you to do this, for even me to tell the story. But there are listeners that's connected to you, connected to this podcast. Do you see a specific theme or themes running through your guests that come on that's actually helping your watchers, viewers, listeners?
For me, I can't answer for them. But for me, I can say I actually see what everybody's stories. Like I said, we all are kind of living this thing called life, and if we want to admit it or not, we're all going through tests. We're all, you know, going through battles, and everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's just trying to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
How do you want to get to that finish line? But now we're living in a time and age where you don't have to do this alone. And a lot of people are confused because they think that you have to. You think that everything that you do was set out to do, you have to do by yourself. And that's not the truth at all. I mean, there's a lot of people out here willing to give you a hand, willing to share their wisdom. It's just if you're going to receive and accept it. Because like your story, you carry yourself very well. And how many other people do that in the world now? Where you can see an individual carrying themselves and you would never think nothing's wrong. But behind closed doors, what's going on behind the scenes? That's the truth. That's why, like, when I come across people walking around, I don't know anybody's stories. But I know they do have a story.
That's right.
I'm going to treat everybody with the same amount of respect. Even if that person is, like you said, could be cruel to me, could say mean things, I'm not going to take it personal. I'll forgive you. I'm going to dismiss it because I always put myself in other people's shoes. Because I don't really know what's going on in your world. But I'll be willing to step into your shoes to see, like, can I help you? I'm willing to sit down and listen to you. I'll talk to you. I'm cool with that. We can talk. You can say all the dirty things to me, but I'm not going to say it back to you. I'm going to talk to you, and we're going to be human together. We're going to be united. And I'm going to hopefully, by the time we're done with this conversation, that you're out walking away smiling, because that's my ultimate goal. I want you to feel that love. I want you to feel the love coming from me to you. That way that you know that you're not alone.
Wow. Well, that is amazing. And that is exactly why your podcast will continue to grow, and that God will continue to send the messages that's needed for the people to hear, because there's so many people that don't hear traditionally, because we're not in a world where we're connected all the time. We're not walking around just meeting new people in most cases. This is a way to connect people. And so I'm really excited about it. I don't feel like I'm asking to come back. I would come back if you allow me.
You're allowed to come back. We'll have part 2.
The other thing
I don't know about that fly, though. That fly, he's going to have to get an invitation.
He will not be back. I mean, anyway, I didn't invite him, but he's here. Also, if we could just mention the Healing the Heart sessions, that would be great. Because
you go ahead, talk about it.
At the end of the day, I know we didn't get full into accepted, and really the because it was really about my story. 2 people did.
It has to be for part 2
Okay.
to be continued.
Okay, so let's do this. Since we haven't gotten to that, let's do the offer after part 2, because then people will really understand what it is they will be getting in those sessions.
So you heard that, guys.
Yes.
Come part 2, definitely check it out, because we got something in store for you.
Yes.
And you're not gonna want to miss that. I'm just letting you know right now, you're not gonna want to miss that.
I'm leaving it up to Chris to schedule it, though. So if it doesn't come soon as it should after part 1, just
Let's see what we got going on here. I'll look at my calendar. Let's see here. Yeah, I just got your message. All right. Part 2, I have an opening on the 25th of this month. Would you be able to do it?
Let me see. I'm looking at my calendar. The 25th. I can definitely do it. Yes.
Or we could do it sooner. We can do on the 16th, next Tuesday.
I am fully booked.
Oh, so I'm sorry, guys. You're gonna have to wait to the 25th.
The 25th.
What about the 17th? What about the 17th?
I'm available on the 17th.
Yeah, we'll make it to 25th. I'm sorry, guys. We'll have to.
25th?
Yep, we'll make it to no Jay Leno fly.
No fly. Well, it's been great, Chris. Thank you so much. I look forward to the next conversation. And you be blessed. And I pray that everyone else that sees this episode and every other episode is also blessed.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is part of her story. Or where were you on her story? Stay tuned for part 2.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, this is Chris.
And
Go ahead.
Kwandi.
And Kwandi. See you later. Peace.
Yo, check the mic. There was a fly buzzing through my room tonight. Landed on the TV underneath the light. I looked real close and nearly lost my mind. That little fly had a chin the size of Interstate 9. I said, hold up, buddy, who you supposed to be? He said, I'm the Jay Leno fly, can't you see? Ooh, it's the Jay Leno fly. Buzzing so low, but his chin sky high. Flying through the kitchen, flying through the den. Looking for a tiny little microphone again.